Hey everybody, it's Tuesday, it's 3 o'clock, that means it's Tech Tuesday. Today I'm going to be talking about some recent updates, really last 6 months or so that we've done on TruVizion. I'll be right back. Hey, thanks for joining me. Again, I'm Rick Uzzi here with Zecorum, and we're going to be talking about TruVizion today. So many of you may be customers of TruVizion, and if you are, some of this will be helpful for you just to see some of the updates that are coming up tomorrow, actually. So we've got one release coming out tomorrow where we'll be updating some various things, and I want to show those first. And then I'm also going to talk about some updates that we've done in the last, really about 6 months or so, just so you have an idea of those. So we update TruVizion, we do a release, there's a sprint every 4 to 6 weeks or so, so you will be seeing those come at you regularly, and we try to send an email when that happens. If you're not a TruVizion user, you may find this interesting. So TruVizion is a diagnostics application for DOCSIS and Fiber Networks. It's useful for various disciplines within a broadband provider, all the way from your, really technical engineer types, network engineers, to maintenance, to call center even, which is unusual kind of for fiber diagnostics. So if you've got a call center and you need fiber diagnostics to help them troubleshoot issues, it works for that as well. So let's take a quick look and see what we have here. So first, let me get on the screen. There we go. All right, so first I'm going to kind of list off some of the things that we've done. And I'm going to show some screenshots of what this stuff looks like so you understand a little bit more. So the first point is nothing to really show there. It's just as we have been updating TruVizion to handle fiber equipment, we've recently added the Calyx AXOS operating system, those OLTs for the E3, the E7, the E9. So that's new. We've had Calyx like the E7 prior to that. So this is new for those of you that have this system. We also, and this again, this is all effective tomorrow, we added service flow specific alerts for data port issues for the Adtran 9500 and the Nokia 7360 DPoE. So those are two fairly new platforms that we're supporting. And when we do this, when we roll out a new platform like this, a lot of times we don't get everything in there that it's doing for the prior platforms, and that's because, especially with it's really primarily for fiber, is that fiber is very different from DOCSIS, where there's the DOCSIS cable modem, where there's the DOCSIS standard, and if you support DOCSIS, everything is pretty much the same. That's not necessarily the case on fiber, so we have to develop every time we want to add a new platform, new vendor, we have to develop specifically for that. So sometimes as we do these, we'll get a platform up, and then we'll add some additional features that were supported in prior platforms as we go. So we want to get the most of the features up, and then we'll continue on that development and add those features. So we did that with these, and I'll explain what this is in a minute, these alerts for data port issues. And it mentions here port down when service flows are assigned, and train speed less than service flows assigned. So let's take a look at what that means. So this would be the screen here. So this is the ONT screen. Normally you'd see a picture of the device here. We must not have that in our database yet for whatever this particular ONT is. This is a Nokia 7360 OLT, again DPoE. So you can see here, this is the service flows that this has been assigned, and you can see that the service flow is 10,000 megabytes or 10 gigs. But down here, the train speed is 1 gig. So we will alert on that. So if the service flow says one thing, and the train speed says another, we'll alert on that so that maybe something's not plugged into a different port or something like that. We'll also alert if there is a service flow and then that service flow is not showing enabled. Anything other than enabled, here if there's a service flow, we will highlight that in red as well and alert on that. So those are two of the things that were added. The other thing that normally would be in here, and you'll see this I think on some other screens, is we'll have customer information and we'll have a map based on where that customer lives, which is helpful as well. So. And that's this panel right here. Something else that we added, or that's coming up here in June for this release that's coming out tomorrow, is we added some Wi-Fi, VoIP, and power supply counts to the device count report, and we added some default values to the admin ONT alert threshold screen, and I'll explain that. So this is what they're talking about on the count. So we've got power supply, VoIP, and Wi-Fi modems. We already had cable modems, and if you had any DSL modem in here, or OFDM channels if you had DOCSIS and any modems with OFDM channels. Any ONTs, you can see we got 41 here ONTs. So we added these to these counts. And the reason we did that is a lot of this has to do with billing. So if you've got a particular module like a OFDM module where you want to see that data, or if you've got the power supply module where you want to look at your power supplies, that would all be DOCSIS, VoIP modems, and then Wi-Fi modems. This is all really DOCSIS here. Then you can look, and these are the counts that we bill based on. We're just basically taking account of the devices that are in the system that have those particular features. So that's what that is. These alert screen, or these thresholds, this is a little bit confusing, so I'm going to take a minute to go through this. So what we've done is we've added some default levels so you know what the defaults are. The reason it's a little confusing is because there's kind of like two levels of defaults. There's a system default, and then there might be a default that you would want to set. And then there's also the settings for a specific access concentrator, because again, with fiber, these systems are a little bit different, unlike DOCSIS, where maybe you've got pretty similar thresholds from CMTS to CMTS. It might be a little bit different. You can still change those out, but it might be a little bit different here on individual access concentrators. So what we're showing here is what the default values are for these various levels. Okay, so and we just got these stuck in here. This is our development platform that I took these screenshots from because this stuff's not yet in production. So I've got default values of 1, 2, 3, and 4 right here. And this is basically saying when things are going to be in the green and when they're going to be in the red. So this actually might be a negative normally, like you look right down here. So these are default levels that have overwritten what the system defaults are. So you can go in and you can change our system defaults. And when you do, it's going to change the numbers that appear here. For example, these are the system defaults. You see there's nothing entered right in these fields. And then you can look and you can see what the system defaults are set for. And then you can go in and you can change these. If you don't want negative 8.5, you might want negative 9 or something like that. You can change those. And as soon as you do, and as soon as you click Save up here in the right-hand corner, that's going to change the number here as well. So that's why this says 1, 2, 3, 4. If I took these out and hit Save, it would probably pull up something totally different, which would be the actual defaults for those levels. And you can see the same thing down here. You've got 0, 10, 60, and 70, which would be the system defaults. And then we've got some numbers in here where we've overwritten some things. We just entered it, and that is what shows up, is what we've entered in these fields. So that's how that works. Now, once you've got the default in, whether you're using our system default or you overwrite that with something else, you can then select an access concentrator. If you've got more than one, you can have different defaults for each one. When you do that, you'll see here I just pulled up a Calix E7, and here these are the default values that you just saw on the system default screen now, or the default screen actually. So this was where I had overwritten my global defaults as an operator. I was able to overwrite the system defaults. So you see the 1, 2, 3, and 4 in here, but I can override those defaults, whether it's the system default or defaults that you enter on the prior page, and you can put something else in specific for the Calix E7, because maybe on that you want 1, 2, 3, and 5, for example. And here, you can see that these were the default values we were seeing. These are the system defaults that we're receiving for receive optical signal number. But on this particular screen, I've overwritten that to 1, 2, 3, and 4. And when you're on these OLT-specific default screens, it does not affect these numbers. Over here, you always see what the default is globally, whether that is our system default or whether that is something that you entered on the prior screen that would be for all access concentrators. So you've got your global defaults that you can enter for all access concentrators, then you can go specifically for a device access concentrator here. And here I pulled up another one. This is an E7, so this is just the Calix E7. Then I pulled up what, again, we are just now going to be supporting starting tomorrow, is the Calix AXOS. So you can see here, and I'll go back a screen, this particular access concentrator doesn't support everything like code word errors, so we don't show those on here. But when you get to a system like AXOS that does support code word errors, like you'd see on a CMTS and cable modem, then you do have some default or some thresholds that you can set there. So again, here you see this is our default system default values, or the values that you might have set in the global. I can't remember which, but in any event, you see 12 and 20. But we can overwrite these numbers here. And same, of course, up here. I got 1, 2, 3, and 4, but on this particular access concentrator, we maybe want that to be 2, 4, 6, and 7. So you can always look back and see what the global default is. And that's, again, either a system default number that we put in there based on what we know about what the default should be, or if you know your specific plant, you can change those out, and then you can go specific by an access concentrator. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, let us know. You can type in a question in chat or just email us, and we will go ahead and answer that question for you. So you see here that I'm going back to January now, so that was June. So I'm going back to January just to talk about some of the things that we've done the last 6 months in case you weren't aware, and then also for anybody else that's watching who might find it interesting. So we added the MAC address to the ONT status report. We added the ability to factory reset Wi-Fi settings in the Actions of the Cable Modem Wi-Fi tab. And we added data port history and associated OLT screen alerting for the Adtran TA5000. So what that looked like, this is the MAC address on the report that we were talking about. So when you run this report, this MAC address field was not here prior to that. So on this report, you would normally see, I've got them blurred out, you normally see the customer's name, and you would see the customer's MAC address. I just blurred out part of it. They're all the same device, so they've got the first 3 digits are the same. When I say same device, same vendor. And on this report, as on others in TruVizion, you can always click on a customer's name and pull up that particular device. In this case, this is a Calyx E7, so you'd pull up the ONT associated with that customer, that ONT screen, similar to what we looked at before. And you can always click a map, and if all these customers are in here with an address, then it will pull up the devices on the map and show you where they are. Here is a cable modem screen. As you notice, it looks very similar to the ONT screen. We try to keep things in a similar kind of format so that if people are troubleshooting both kinds of technologies, it's not 2 different systems. Now, first of all, they can log into the same system, which is nice, like your call center. So if you're supporting both DOCSIS devices and fiber devices, your call center can log into the same TruVizion interface, and all they need to do is query the customer, and depending on what kind of device they have, they'll either pull up a cable modem or an ONT, for example. Could have multiple cable modems, in which case you can click and select one. In this case, we're looking at this cable modem, and this is the Wi-Fi tab, so I'm not looking at the Wi-Fi tab yet, but I can click on this particular customer. I see Wi-Fi is clickable, so when I click on that, I pull up the Wi-Fi screen, and we collect this from the cable modem, and you can see that we've got information on the radios here. I could scroll down and show more if this was a live shot, but it's not. But I can see information about this particular radio. And if you've got more than one, if you've got 2.5 and 5 gigahertz, it'll show you both of those. You've got some menus here where you can do some things. You can change the password for the customer. You can change their SSID. Lots of things you can do, both troubleshooting-wise and then also manage Wi-Fi management to maybe help the customer if you're on the phone with them. It's a little bit quicker sometimes if you can do things for them rather than have them kind of walk them through how to do things. So the thing that we added in here, one other thing. So you can see here, we show all the clients that are attached, and you can see if there are any issues. It looks like some of these clients are kind of far away and not maybe getting some good uplink rates. Signal strength's not so great. So you can always look at those. You can drill in and look at those readings over time. There's a lot that we can do on Wi-Fi screen. What we added was this particular feature right here where you can reset the Wi-Fi, and that will reset the device back to a default, basically complete default of the device, or reset it completely. So you need to keep that in mind, that if they have any settings in there like port forwarding or something like that, that will reset that and wipe that out. So a couple of use cases would be maybe if you're going to take this device and move it somewhere else, you might want to reset it, and you can do it right here. So that the new place that you're putting it doesn't have all the old settings in there, and you can kind of start from scratch. Or if the device just gets stupid and you need to reset it completely, if that's your only option, you can do that. Nice thing about that, again, is you can avoid some truck rolls. So a lot of the application of your TruVizion is to help avoid truck rolls, especially when you're dealing with subscribers on a screen like this, the ONT screen or the Wi-Fi or the cable modem screen. So you can maybe take care of some of these things for the customer so that you don't have to roll a truck. What else do we have here? Oh, and then we were talking about the data ports. So this was a TA5000 Adtran. So we added some data here is that if there are errors, and again, we had this in some of the other platforms, but we added this after we started supporting this platform. We could then see the particular data errors, for example. Here we have voice errors. And if you click on any of these, like if I click on this 4, which I think I did, yeah. So when I click on the 4, it's going to pull up all of the customers that are making up that particular issue. So same thing here. If I clicked on the 9, I'd see all voice issues, or I could click on the 3 and see just the voice issues on this particular port. But in this case, again, I had clicked on the 4, and then I see these 4 devices. And you can see then these are the devices that are reporting an issue here. So you can see what's going on specifically for these. And again, if this is in development, so we don't have any, this is a development platform, so we don't have any addresses associated or names associated with these devices. But if you did, you'd see the address and the city and the name right here. And then if you click the name, it would pull up the ONT screen. Or if you click map, again, a really nice thing, if you click the map, then these 4 devices that are showing an issue, the same issue on a data error, not necessarily the same issue, but you can see what's going on here. You can then see them geographically and see if maybe there's some issue there, and they're all clustered together. So that's nice to have as well. February, I don't think there's anything here to show. So we integrated TruVizion with the Nokia at that point. So this was when we did integrate with the Nokia, and that was that Vecima FPXT-B engine, because Nokia purchased Vecima. Improve the performance report, performance of the ONT performance report. So we improved the performance of the ONT performance report. So that report's performance got better. So it was taking a little bit long to run, and we improved that. So nothing to show there. March, we added 24-hour bandwidth utilization to the Nokia. Added gig-E drilling history to the Nokia. So again, as we added the Nokia platform, we got a lot of the features in there, and then over time, as we do these sprints, we're completing out everything that we have in the other platforms. Add the ability to sync affiliate management customer info for billing integrated DPoE subscribers. So that was also related to some of this, and it's got to do with billing integration. Nothing to show there, but these other 2 things, the bandwidth utilization, that's again in this panel here. And you see what we added was this particular, collecting this particular information, which is a rolling 24 hours that we collect. So when you pull this up, it's basically looking at a rolling 24 hours of the upload and download total for this device. Something else to note here, you see the service flow again. So here, the service flow is 1,000 megabits per second, or 1 gig, and your train speed is 1 gig. So you'll remember back before when I showed the screen on another device, this was 10,000 megabits per second, or 10 gigs, and this was 1, so we were alerting on that. So there's nothing to alert here. The service flow and the train speed are the same, so you see that there's nothing to alert. So that's that. And then up here in the corner, up here in the corner, let me go back. You'll see this little drill-in, and we also added this drill-in capability where you can now look at all of this information that you have here, where you're kind of getting a snapshot. You can look at what that looks like over time, and that would be the last 24 hours, or you could select 7 days, 30 days, or 90 days. You can go back 90 days if you really wanted to look at that much history. So we're looking at 24 hours here, and again, we're looking at all of those numbers. So this is the kind of thing where it's nice. You can look at a snapshot and see what the number is now, or you can look at it over time, and that way, if a customer says, oh, I was having issues at a particular time of the day, you can look and see if something was going on. Here we've got those same things. We've got transmit and receive bytes, transmit frames, receive frames, drop frames, transmit drop frames, drop bytes, unicast frames, unicast, both transmit and receive. You can also, on any of these, if you scroll over the line, it will show you what that number is right there at that point. So I wanted to just show that. And then as you scroll down, you'll see other things. You got your multicast frames, transmit and receive, broadcast frames, transmit and receive, pause frames, collision frames, multiple collision frames, late collision frames, excessive collision frames, and received alignment errors. Received CRC32 errors, received length errors, received oversize frames. So lots of stuff in there, lots of data. A lot of times you'll see this, just a straight line. So in a situation like this, with it being maybe issues or errors, you maybe want to see a straight line and not necessarily, blips. But if you see a blip, it can show you when it happened. Updated FTTX or fiber video overlay to show configured and operational statuses. This is April. This was the last update prior to this one that's coming here in June. And all that was we added some information, I think, or improved some information here on the video panel. So this is again, the ONT screen. So again, you've got all your information here. We've talked about some of this information. This is a different type of OLT. So instead of the service flows, you'll see things look a little different depending on the platform and what they call things, whether it's a Calix or whether it's an Adtran or the Nokia. So you see some of the information here, but we do alert on things here like operational status on this GigE. And if I could click here, there might be GigE2 and some other kind of ports I could click on. And then again, we've got our voice and video down here, and here we've got our mini map. When we do have a customer address in here, we can see their pins, and in this case, we can also see any nearby issues that might be happening, and we can see based on the color what the alert level is, whether it's a warning or just an alert. So again, that was the April update. We didn't have one in May, but again, we do this like every 4 to 6 weeks, so sometimes we'll hold off a little bit and make sure we can get more in. So that will be the June update, and that'll be tomorrow, taking place, I believe, like 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So during that time, when we're doing that maintenance window, there'll be a 30-minute or so period, could be more, could be less, where TruVision will be down. So just be aware of that from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Other than that, should be good to go after that maintenance window, and you should see these features in there. So hopefully this was helpful to you. If it was, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up on the video. If you're not already subscribed, you can subscribe on YouTube by clicking the subscribe button. Make sure that you click the little bell when you do that, and you'll be notified when we're on live. I'm going to be live next week with a special guest, Livia Rosu from Home Grid Forum, and we're going to be talking about something called G.HN, which is a standard with Home Grid Forum for using inside wiring, whether it be twisted pair, coax, or even power lines, I think. So you could, customers could do that for home networking, but also a service provider, an operator could do that if you want to connect an MDU, for example, or an office building, and you don't want to mess with the inside wiring. With G.HN, you can actually use existing wiring. So Livia is the president, I believe, of Home Grid Forum, so she's going to be my special guest next week at 3 o'clock. So I hope you can join me for that. We'll see you at that time. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.